Welcome to our first episode of Top to Bottom with me, Keenan, and the venerable Becc. Becc, this is our first one. Do you think our brand, you think your brand got anybody here?
That is what I'm all about, is brand. Just brand. It's all I think about. It's just, how do I personal brand better?
I know, and you're doing a great job. The whole world knows who you are. So yeah, everybody, we are going to change the way we do podcasts. Everybody meet Min. Min is our producer. Say hello, Min.
Hello. How are y'all doing?
Are you ready, Min?
I'm super excited to be here, and I'm here to make sure that both of y'all are reined in during this podcast.
Toughest job in show business.
He's the judge.
Toughest job in show business. Well, let's get on to our first segment, which is... During this segment, we'll be talking about two myths that y'all will let me know your thoughts. The first myth of today is that you need to know the decision maker at the start in order to sell. Becc, let's start with you. What do you think about this?
No. You don't.
Why so?
Well, I think that there's a general feeling, or there's a general myth that you must find the decision maker right off the bat. And I see a lot of SaaS organizations even say, like, go so far as to say, if it's not the decision maker, is the person who like requests a demo or the person who comes inbound, then like I can't talk to them. So people even like go so far as to disqualify someone because they're not a decision maker. But I cannot. I mean, there's two sides of it, but essentially from the qualification perspective, if you qualify out people who aren't the decision maker, you're going to qualify out a lot of different people who are a part of the evaluation process, who aren't necessarily the one that's going to quote unquote sign on the dotted line. So that's the first downside to it. But the second one, and then I'm going to kick it over to Keenan, the second one, and maybe this is just a proof point qualitatively, but I looked back at my deals whenever I saw this myth. And this was originally created by Bank Criteria, for everyone on the line, was created by IBM as like an evaluation framework. And when I looked back at my deals, 82% of my deals, not only did I not have the decision maker at the start, but I didn't even meet the quote unquote decision maker, meaning the one who signed on the dotted line, until the DocuSign. That I was like, nice to meet you. I'm back, blah, 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 because usually they're handing it down, to someone else to evaluate specifically an enterprise. So I know it's a big myth, but, people stress like you have to hunt, for the decision maker. And I think the biggest myth behind it is you don't absolutely have to have them, and certainly not at the onset of the deal. Keen, what do you think?
Why does it not surprise me that Becc knows right down to the percentage of her deals which one she had the decision maker on and which she didn't? Wow. Bam. We need like a noise for that. Really? Like
82.
Jeez. 82. Becc, like, okay, precisely how many times a day do you use the restroom? How long do you go? How many squares of toilet paper do you use? I mean, do you have your whole life broken down into freaking percentages and numbers?
I really do.
God.
I have a nice fact. I have a different colored toothbrush for every single day.
Back.
True story, for every single.
Keenan, you're hearing this too, right?
I look, we might want to bleep this out, man, because they might take her shit away. Like, that's certifiable. I mean, like, any therapist in the house, we'll take them. All right. So with that being said, thank God her sales advice isn't as crazy as her toothbrush habit. But no, I tend to agree with Becc on this one. Look, what people don't understand is that in today's world, all you need to do is talk to somebody who has influence. That's all you have to do. Now, to Beck's point, in some cases, based on a buying process, do you eventually have to get to the final decision maker? You may. But in many cases, there is an influencer who's, and that I don't give a fuck what name we call him, influencer, champion, sidekick. I mean, I really don't care. But there's somebody whose job it is, or who's in the organization, who is experiencing the problems, the issues, the pain, and they don't like it. And so they've been tasked with trying to figure out how to solve it. And if you get that person's attention and you get them to acknowledge the problem exists, everything else takes care of itself. Like, look, I love to do it this way, right? And no one's ever said yes to me yet. I mean, sorry, no one said no to me yet. Everybody's been single at one point in their time. I know, Becc, that too. That way, yes, right? Too. No one said no to me, right? But we've all been single in our life once, so we can all understand this. But if you've got a crush on some guy or girl and you don't know them, but you know their brother, their sister, their friend, their aunt, their uncle, you go right into that friend. You become that friend's best friend and ask them to put in a good word or introduce you, or you hang out with them so maybe they'll get. You don't need the decision maker. You just need access and influence. So yeah, no, I'm with Becc 100%.
Yeah, so the analogy breaks down because, I need to know someone to have a crush on them. But generally speaking, I agree with you.
Oh, that's not true, Becc. You had a crush on me before you knew me. Oh, my brand. Oh, my brand.
Call her out.
Keenan, you be real on the line. Who reached out to who originally?
In the minute
and I can share my LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, totally. In the minute you heard my voice, I thought you were gonna start crying like those Elvis fans. Oh my God!
Bring out the tapes. Okay, we have to transition to our second sales myth, which is you can do a demo and discovery on the first call and the same call. This time we'll start with you, Keenan. What do you think about this?
Man, everybody knows how I feel about this, and I don't even know why I'm not going to scream it because people still do it. No, you can't. No. And if it still hasn't gotten through your fucking head, no one more time. Look, the purpose of sales is not to push your product. You can do a product demonstration on the first call, but you're not selling. Let me be clear. You're not selling, you're pitching. If you're trying to tell people what your product does, you're trying to tell people what your service does, you're trying to telling is not selling. You must uncover the problem, impact, root cause, the current state issues and challenges before you open your damn trap. I want you to imagine you go to a therapist and you sit down and you say, my husband and wife and I aren't getting along, or I'm having a hard time with my children, or, I have anxiety. And they're like, oh, let me tell you what to do. And they just start saying, I want you to do this and this and this. You're like, whoa. How do you know? You haven't even listened to me yet. But yet that's what we do in sales all the time. So no, you cannot.
Oh my goodness. Well, now it's your turn, Becc. What do you think about this myth?
Even if I did say yes, I have a fear that it'd be like blowing my nose on like Gap selling national flag or something. If I did say yes. But I think to Keenan's point, why people believe that, and I think people would agree with you on paper, but they don't agree with you in terms of how they execute and how they do in practice. But I think the reason that people do that is because from their view, discovery and demo are synonyms. Like they're the exact same thing because they view selling at large, which is how it's been viewed for thousands of years, is the only thing that I need to do to sell effectively is describe my product effectively. And so they don't need any buy-in from the buyer. They might need, if they're going to do pain-centric selling only, then okay, I need a couple of pain points, or what do you need, which is just a self-diagnosis and a self-prescription. But I think that the reason that people do it is because they're like, I have all the data that I need. All I needed to know is, do they have budget and are they the decision maker? And then I can go and launch into my product. So I'll sum it up with saying this. I was asked at one point of a very well-known conversation intelligence company, that basically said like, hey, how do we compete? And I said back in front of the room, I said, well, dependent, like what kind of buyer are you? What kind of buyer person? And they're like, come on, Becc, come on, just give us the meat. And I was like, I literally can't. I was like, what buyer persona are you? And they're like, come on, stop being difficult. I'm like, I'm not being difficult. I'm being a seller. What is should be, I need the background. So I absolutely think that if you're doing discovery correctly, you need to discover what their problems are, which takes more than 30, 45 minutes, so you can't tell them on the same call.
And let me help the whole world on this one. This is some deep shit, right? So everybody pay close attention. And every time I tell that when I do a video on this, it doesn't get nearly the plays as the superficial shit I do. So I don't know if the world is dumb or I just don't articulate it well enough. But when you do a demo without doing a discovery, or you do it at the same time as discovery, which means you're doing a shitty discovery, you never really understand why they should change. You never understand why they should change. And let me tell you what happens to 99.999% of all sales. They get to the very end and they're asking the buyer, you're at the very end of the sale, very last thing, everything's been done, and you're asking the buyer to do two things. One clearly is buy our product or service.
Yeah.
But the other one they're asking them to do at the very same time is change from what they're doing today. And that's why so many salespeople lose to the status quo. The buyer's like, you know what? I like what you did. This is it, but I think we're just going to hold up. I think we're going to stay. Because you never uncovered the reason to change early enough. So a proper seller, which nobody has ever taught this before, which blows my mind, moves that decision to change to the front of the sale at the end of the discovery. So when I'm done with the discovery, the proper discovery, you've actually assessed enough that says, wow, I can't stay here. The buyer's like, nope, this is not okay. We can't continue to take these losses. We can't continue to spend this much time. We can't continue to deal with these many inquiries. We can't continue to deal with this raise in our incoming support tickets. We can't do it. We got to change. Once they say we got to change, then you can start talking about your product or service and what they should change to. But you can't do that if you don't do the discovery first.
So I know we only have 20 seconds and I'm being measured on laconism and brevity apparently in this. But I will say you need to discover whether their problem is solvable by you.
Yep.
And is it the correct self-diagnosis, if nothing else from an ethical view. We have 4 seconds left.
I'm going to be deaf by the end of this podcast. I swear to God.
Just so everyone knows, every time we transition to a new section and the 5 are on the right-hand side, the horn's going to go off. And Keenan basically is just waiting to grill me. If I'm still talking when that freaking
She's still talking. Listen, she's still talking. Here she goes talking again. Do it in the horn. Do it in the horn, the microphone.
Go ahead. Change it.
Do it.
We're doing another one?
In the microphone. Into the microphone.
In the microphone. Okay, hold up. I gotta squeeze this in.
Oh, you got so excited. That's better. All right,
better. Section 2. Take it or leave it.
Yes, to section 2, which is this is where we show you some tactics and you guys tell me whether you take it or leave it. Okay, so we're starting off with you, Becc.
That's
Call
the best
script.
way to start. It's the best way to start.
I'll
take it.
But
start with me.
Becc, call scripts, take it or leave it, and why?
Leave it.
Why so?
Leave it. I feel like Keenan now with the discovery demo conversation. Call scripts, by and large, dictate or are predicated on the fact that you are looking for, encouraging, and not wanting any interaction from your buyer, which means that you're churning knowingly beforehand, premeditated murder of like, I don't want to be after any of the problems that they have, any of the details of their organization, any of the, root causes of those problems, any of the impacts, any of the aggression on any of those, because a call script specifically on cold calls would dictate of like, I'm not here to have a conversation. I'm here to basically have a, they say this, I say this, they say this, I say this. And so I'm hoping to Jenga stack it up in a way where they're like, awesome, I'll totally take a meeting and the doves are released and there's flowers on the line, but I absolutely say leave it.
Doves are released.
Absolutely leave it. Absolutely.
Okay. I agree with Becc. And just FYI, everybody's our first inaugural, so we're gonna have mistakes. This is only a 5 minute, right? 2 minutes. How long is it supposed to be, Becc? 5 minutes. Yes. This is a 5 minute one.
Apologize.
That's okay. That's okay, big man. We know you've done I want to acknowledge how great job Min has done.
Min's doing great.
Putting this together. Okay, so call scripts, 100% leave it. With one exception, and this should not surprise people. Cold calling. I am absolutely okay with an introductory script to get it going, because I am literally listening to a client's cold calls right now, and I've never seen something more. What's that thing called? Nails to a chalkboard in my life. Never. I mean, oh my God. So no call scripts whatsoever, with the exception of cold calling, where it is the old favorite. My favorite is, hey, this is Keenan. I'm calling from somewhere. I know I'm interrupting. Can I get 20 seconds to tell you why I'm called? Yes, no. Then after that, script to kick it off, problem A, B, C, and D, and then you're done. Then the rest is natural. But outside of that, absolutely not, for every reason you said.
My blip on that is structure. Yes, I agree with you. Script, I'm still a no on the intro.
Yeah, no.
I have totally. 6 paths based on like different, if they sound heated, if they sound happy, if they sound, if they say like, I'm good, or like, where'd you get my number? But yes, structure, yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more specifically.
Here's the problem. Here's the other problem with scripts. This is to managers. Managers, pay attention, okay? You start creating scripts, you create mindless people.
Yeah.
You do not teach people how to think. And what a lot of people don't understand, and this, look, I have a hole in my hiring ability. It's because I haven't figured out how to measure this yet. But the best salespeople, besides all the methodologies, et cetera, is they're smart and they can think on the fly. That's the key. And if you're not smart enough to think on the fly, giving them scripts is not going to help. You're only going to make it worse.
Can you imagine giving a doctor a script? Or encouraging a doctor to have a script?
Excellent. Amen. Great point. Great point. No.
Insane. Like, you don't send a doctor to like sales technique school.
No, you do not.
But you're like, how do you influence them to want to buy this medication? Like, they're strictly off of, do they find the problem? Do they diagnose it correctly? Do they prescribe correctly? And do they prognose correctly? But like, can you imagine giving them a script?
No.
Insane. What's the next take it or leave it?
Yes, the next take it or leave it, Becc, is free consultations. What do you think about this?
I'm a take it on this one. So the general myth, I know that there's a common saying out there of like, don't spill your candy in the lobby. And what they mean by that is like, oh, well, you shouldn't hand over any valuable information, to your buyer, teaching them how to do stuff because that's free consultation. I'm like, why the hell not? Like it establishes your credibility. Like the Gartner stat, I think it was Gartner that put out a stat that said 87% of buyers, prospective buyers, whether it's an enterprise software solution or it's a stick of gum, they don't want a seller involved. And if I had to guess why, it's because they don't learn anything on that call other than pricing that they didn't know before the call.
There's no value. There's no value.
So I'm like, the free consultation, like, now I agreed to, like, you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours and hours of like free advice. Leave that to me. Leave that to me, of hours of free endless advice. But I think you should absolutely, educate and uncover things for your prospects that might potentially or are currently hurting them, to gain credibility and to help them at the end of the day. So I'm going to take it on free consultation.
What about you, Keenan? Do you take it or leave it?
100% take it. Look, man, I'm going to go back to my I got a crush on some girl freaking metaphor. If she's going to give me 2 minutes on the phone, I'm taking it. You don't ever not take an opportunity. I'm an absolute motherfucking opportunist. And if a buyer's going to get on the phone with me, sit with me in person, freaking have a cup of coffee, I don't even drink coffee, right? Go to a vegan restaurant. I'm not even vegan. I don't give a shit what it is. I am there. Because the minute I'm in front of you or on the phone with you and you're communicating with me, that's a win. And I love how it was phrased. A consultation, that implies a bilateral conversation, right? And so therefore, I'll get you talking and that'll be my discovery. I probably won't even need a discovery after that. So abso-freaking-lutely free consultation.
Yeah, I think that the myth that you shouldn't is built largely in the spot of like, why would I help my buyer for free?
Yeah. Well, what people miss is giving them information and telling them how to do something, but being able to do something are two entirely different things. Yeah. I could argue my book, where's the damn thing, right? This book is 375 pages of a consultation. And people try it every day. They run out there every day. I can do that. No, you can't. I'm getting my kitchen redone right now. And they could have told, there's blueprints down there. And I picked out everything. And if they dropped it on my front porch, said, have a great day. I'd be like, oh shit. So now no, give it away.
Got you. We ended 5 seconds early, but just for good measure, we're
Right around those hooks, I'm just going to go dead fish on the line. So Keenan's not right. Just so LinkedIn world knows, I'm going to go dead fish every time because I will be damned if he catches me on one of those transitions.
It doesn't help if you talk after how well you didn't talk during the thing.
No, but I hit the marker. Min needs to change the thing. This is on
change
Min.
the thing, man. Here we go.
For sure. We're on to the next segment. One specific topic that is hitting close to home for a lot of salespeople. And today's challenge is called Ghostbusters. It is how to follow up with prospects and leads that ghost you or turn cold during the sales process. Becc, would you like to start off with us?
Go, Becc. Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
Did we lose her?
So I think that my internet lagged. So you're gonna have to start with Keenan.
For sure. We're starting out with Keenan. We're starting out with Keenan right now. Hold on.
Back?
All right. So, yeah, you're back. You're back. Go for it, Becc. Oh, no, she's not. She's in San Francisco. Aren't they supposed to have the best internet in the world? And isn't Becc? I mean, oh, poor Becc. You know, maybe she went with a better brand.
Am I back?
Oh, snap. So, look, my take on this whole concept of going dark is I'll start small and then I'll let Becc come in if she can hear me. Is when someone goes dark, there's a myriad of reasons. Like everybody thinks there's only one or two. They're not interested or whatever. But in someone's day-to-day, I've gone dark on things I'm really interested in. But in someone's day-to-day, as they're trying to get stuff done, things happen. They lose track of the excitement of the potential sale, or other problems rise above that one in the moment, etc. So first is understanding when people go dark, it's nothing to do with you, and you can't take it personally, and you can't act as if somehow someone's doing something to you. But the second reason they go dark is you. And that's when you have provided, as Becc said earlier, zero value in the front end of the sale. You really did nothing to really provide value, to get engaged with you, be connected with you, want more information from you. You really haven't. And so they got what they needed and they're gone, and they'll figure the rest out at their own pace, the way they want to do it, etc. So the very first thing to do to keep someone from going dark is, Becc, tell them.
Build value in the beginning.
Yeah, and how do you do
discovery.
that?
Do proper discovery by finding the problems that they need to solve.
Yes, it's funny how that works, right? The best way to keep someone from going dark is to build value in the beginning. And that value is based on a discovery which uncovers, here's the cool part, everybody hold, pause for effect, the reason they should change. It is amazing. I want people to really understand the power of a sale after the buyer is admitted and agreed that their current state is untenable, intolerable, and that change is a must. No, it doesn't mean they're going to change to you. You hope they do, but you've done the work to get them to say, we can't stay here anymore. We cannot continue to sit in this slop. Once you've done that and you have a conversation with them, they don't go dark because they understand that going dark does not solve the problem. Mm-hmm. And so they're more available. So how to get them back, I'll share in a minute. But how to prevent them from going dark, I like to be proactive rather than reactive. Becc, what about you?
Yeah, well, proactive is always going to be the best case scenario. But I would double down on your opinion of like, I would only dark someone if I didn't feel like I needed to change something in my current state because my problem was big enough. Like basically, if I thought that this was a quote unquote nice to have, or I thought that this was something that I didn't really need to solve for then. And like, here's the thing, you're going to run into sometimes, at least in my experience, problems that just aren't that big, you know? And in that case scenario, it's like, it makes sense to me if they quote unquote go dark, but it's not, they go dark on me, that it makes sense to me that like, essentially it's not that worth solving. Whatever problem that you come up with. Sometimes people aren't running into the big problems that you solve for. So I have had that on the line. And I can go into some different techniques, but I think generally speaking, now there is one side case, but generally speaking, if you find a problem that's big enough, you know, for them and an impact that's big enough, like I'm not going to wait on the line. If a doctor has uncovered that basically they think that I have cancer and that I'm going to die in like a couple of months at the ripe young age of 25, of which I currently am. I'm like, I'm not going to
10th year in a row.
Totally. I'm not going to go 11th. Be fair. Be fair.
11th year in a row.
Do I not look 25?
You look 19. You look 19.
There you go. Well, I'm back on track. I'm okay now. But point being, if like I'm not going to ghost them on the conversation to find out what the medication is. Like I know that I have a giant problem, and so I'm going to be the one that's showing up early to that conversation. Now, if they haven't found one, then that's going to be on them. I do want to address though. I see it often happening when people force next steps out of their buyer.
Yes.
When they're like, hey, what are the next steps? And when you really think about it, this might be a whole other conversation in of itself. When you really think about it, forcing next steps out of your buyer, not only is it a self-diagnosis, like they don't know necessarily verbatim what the next steps are all the time, but really there's no value in your buyer giving next steps to them. There's no value to the buyer there's value to me as a seller, but there's not value to them to committing to get back to you, in a week or 2 weeks, et cetera. So I have seen people, essentially if they're even if you have found a problem that's big enough, if they say like, hey, I'll get back to you the next week because I'm going to huddle up with blank, and that person goes out of town or something, they'll ghost at that point because they're like,
there is, Becc. There is, watch this. There is value.
There can be.
Yes.
But there usually isn't. Isn't in how people set it up. They're like, what's the next steps? Or I'll hear this a lot in like interviews. They're like, do you have any hesitations in moving forward with me? I'm like, yeah, this shit question. Bullshit question.
Yes. Notice that question is predicated on the concept that they don't understand what the problem is. Notice how it comes back to the problem. If using your cancer example, and I know that you have freaking a brain cancer and you're going to die, only question I would ask is, do you have hesitation using chemo versus radiation? And I've explained to you both and why chemo is your best bet.
Totally.
But in that situation, you don't even want to go there, right? So what's interesting, what you said is there is value in people. Let me phrase, there is value to the seller in knowing next steps when it's tied to the length of time that buyer has to continue to live with the problem. Right? So if you spelled out the problem and the current state issues and how they're impacting, you've got it all defined, and now you're talking next steps, and it's like, well, because I've sold several six-figure deals recently the same way, where they weren't tying next steps to the problem they were having. And I was like, well, look, you said that you needed this done by this time to be ready for this. If the next steps aren't done here, you're not going to make this goal. Are you okay not making this goal? Great point. You're right. We probably need to escalate this. So no, it can be if you do it right.
It can be. I've never seen it done where it's valuable. I should have prefaced. I've never seen it done live. And before you hit me with that, you haven't watched me sell. You haven't watched me sell. I knew what you were going to say. I knew it. I was like, he's going to call. He's going to say, you haven't watched me sell. I feel like I said,
just watch me sell.
You owe me a coach.
Yeah.
But point being, I've never seen it by and large. But to me, next step should be you, based on the knowledge that you learned in discovery, outlining for your buyer what will happen to them in the next steps if they don't change. That's what a doctor does. They don't only diagnose what's wrong, they prognose what's going to happen to you if you don't take this medication. And then they're like, if you don't want to take it, I can roll the tape forward. You have whatever, 12 months to live, et cetera. I mean, this is a gruesome example. But point being, next steps, the only time I see people ghosting is because sellers have said on the back end for discovery, they're like, well, what are next steps? And the person's like, well, I'll huddle up with blank and I'll get back to you next week. And then they just don't hit that time frame. So they ghost the person until they have an answer.
Yep, 100%. We're in agreement. That being said, I want to take a quick deviation because I like to do this. So is Chris Babot still listening? He said you need to have a specific pitch for a prospect, not a company-defined script. Chris, go fucking read Gap Selling and cut it out. No, you don't need a pitch. No, you don't need a script. Nobody wants to be talked at. Nobody wants to be talked to. Telling is not selling. So sorry, Chris, you put that out there. You made a statement. No, you do not need to pitch. No, you do need a script. please, good God Almighty, stop.
Since we only have 30 seconds left, I'll close this with a story. I went through a discovery the other day.
Were you giving or receiving?
No, I was receiving.
Okay.
And I legitimately almost fell asleep on the line because it was like 2:30 in the afternoon and they were talking at me the entire time and their voice was so monotonous. And they didn't ask me any questions that I seriously texted someone to say I might fall asleep.
I wanted to make sure you were done. I didn't want to interrupt you too much.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, we have our next segment, which let me pull it up, which is... All right. I have a special gift for both of y'all.
Woo woo!
As you can see here, I'm not sure you can see the color very well,
Yeah, baby.
And then here's me, you know.
Yes, yes.
But we have a couple of questions from our audience that we need both of y'all to answer. I'm just picking them out at random. So
the mailbox for everyone on the line was a compromise of mine from me to Keenan.
It was beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Don't
thing.
Beck, let everybody think you're part of the genius. Don't let them know that you're the dragger. Don't let them know.
No, I don't want to be dragged through the mud when they're like, is that a mailbox?
Okay, now here's the first question. And this question is from Travis Beacon from Orlando.
Hi, Travis.
Hi, I am a college student majoring in sales. How can I build a successful career in B2B sales once I graduate from college?
I thought he was going to say a successful brand.
I thought he was going to say, I would have snipped that right in the bud.
Well, how about this? Keenan, let's bring you on first. What do you think?
Look, I'm going to answer this question for all things, okay? Not just salespeople. When you get out of college, if you even go to college, because I don't think you have to go to college unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. When you get out, you go be the best at whatever you possibly can be. And that means research, study, apply, just lather yourself in all the information, the people, the experts that you possibly can, and dedicate yourself to the craft. That's the micro answer. Dedicate yourself to the craft. The micro answer is learn how to diagnose, learn how to listen, and work on your curiosity and work on your business acumen.
And what about you, Becc? What do you think us college students can do to really be successful?
Get good internet.
Did he say get better internet? I couldn't hear you.
I think it pushed the joke even further.
Mine is I would seek to take accountability for your outcomes. And that has two sides to it. Take accountability for when you mess up, what your part was in it. And then take accountability, more importantly, for your success. So I see a lot of reps say like, hey, well, my manager doesn't coach me. And I'm like, well, that's a problem in and of itself. Like, for sure, it'd be nice if your manager coaches you. But like, I'm going to do what I've got to do. So I'm going to take accountability of like, I need to get to quota. I need to, like, if all things remain the same, like my excuse can't be at the end of the quarter that my manager didn't coach me enough if I want to be successful. So like, that's a high toll and that's a high bar to hit. But it puts the power back in your control of like, I'm the creator of my own destiny. So that was the hardest lesson for me to learn, was that no one owes me anything, that I'm not the shit, that I do things wrong, that I can learn a lot of stuff from other people, and that I'm the one that's in control of that. So I would, I'd
more of these, Becc.
Huh?
We have two more of these.
I would close with a story. There was one point.
No, we have. This is your job, man. We have two more. Okay, tell your story, Becc. Tell your story.
Tell your story.
All right.
there was one point where I wanted to get content in front of SDRs. So on a Saturday night, I was sitting there with my grandfather and he was on the couch. And I remember distinctively adding thousands of SDRs on LinkedIn, just like basically searching for any SDRs to get content in front of them. Thousands and thousands of reps. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, taking things into my own hands. If I want to get content in front of them, you know, what's the best way to do it? So I would just focus on how you can drive that outcome. And then to Keenan's point, like do the mental math on what's the best way to do that.
All right, for sure. We got to quickly go through this last one because we only have 30 seconds.
Rapid fire.
This one is from James Toomey from Zendesk. Can you give some B2B examples of how to leverage signs when prospecting? Is it best to lead with problems or dig for signs when you're prospecting?
I wish I knew he said signs.
No,
I don't understand.
Oh, he's talking about medical signs. So I'd say it's difference between a symptom and a sign. A symptom is the patient notices. A sign is what he's talking about. My content. A sign is the doctor notices. It's non-pain related. So in terms of prospecting, you can do it one of two ways. You can either, if there's an overt indicator to you that there's a problem deep down, it says 57 seconds left on the timer.
That's broken internet.
That's broken internet.
Broken internet.
Am I ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
You gotta stay on track.
You gotta stay on track, Becc. I'm sorry.
James, I'll follow up with you.
I knew. All right, here we go.
All right, we have our last segment, which is
Teardown.
email teardown. Love it.
Poor James.
Absolutely love it. So this is the segment where we go through our emails that have been sent to Becc and Keenan, and we're going to tear it up. So let's see here. Sorry for the
James, I'll follow up wherever you are. James at Zendesk. I love Zendesk. And that was actually a really smart question that he asked, for the record.
Why?
Uh-oh.
Maybe. Uh-oh.
Let me change.
Connection bad now, men.
I know. Okay. Yeah, we're trying to screen share this email, but for some reason it just won't work. But let me do this like this. Perfect. Here we go. Thank God. All right. The subject for this email is about your sales book blog, Keenan. Hey Keenan, I have this idea. I noticed your 13 must-read sales books to become a badass salesperson, and one of the best sales books I've read, Spin Selling, is missing. I'm writing because we could add the book to your article. I'll do the hard work of writing a blurb that aligns with your blog, and in return, if you can mention our blog about the spin selling technique where we've summarized the book into a 5-minute read, which can add value for the readers. Let me, if that works, I'll prepare the blurb according to your article. Hoping to hear from you soon, S.
You're going to hear from him. Oh, S, you're going to hear from him.
Keenan, tear it up.
I don't even know for this guy.
Yeah, I don't look, you know, as a dad, okay, I have a very interesting parenting style. That's where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to make this quick.
In the beginning.
Yeah. When my kids do something like not clean their room, well, I don't make them clean their room. When they do, they leave dishes out in the living room, or they say shit like, I don't want to go to training today, or they're arguing with each other in the back of the car. That's when I get them, oddly enough, the most frustrated and angry and whatever. But if my daughter were to, come home super drunk one night, what I don't do is lose my shit there, because it is so off the reservation for her that it's like yelling or screaming or anything is not going to help. I got to sit down and have a conversation. And that's that email. It's not even that email is so fucking bad because it's literally my competition asking me to promote their book against my book on my blog. That means they know nothing. They know nothing about who I am. it doesn't even warrant a response. And this is a good one to you, Becc. That's what most of you do. You don't even know who the hell you're sending your emails to.
Now, what do you think about this email, Becc?
Well, I think to Keenan's, like, there's a lot of things that can go into poor email construction, the aesthetic of it, the flow of it, the fluidity of it, you know, do you use enough punctuation in the correct places? But he's hitting on a really key issue that this shows that you, and this poor person, like, this isn't the only person who does this. This is 99.9% of people. What was special about this person is they sent an email that not only was irrelevant, it was directly not relevant. Like, you were the last person on the earth that this person should be sending that email to. And I think it highlights an issue that it is very common culture within cold email practice to know nothing about my buyer. And the problem that I have with that is, how am I supposed to find and highlight and have a conversation around problems for my buyer if I don't even know who my buyer is? Like, I can't even hit first name, or, like, you know, I got an email yesterday that asked me if I'm willing to flip the script to take up another role. And I'm like, I own it, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I freaking own it.
Yeah, I get those
you know?
as well. Yeah.
And like, that's just bad math, bad luck on their part. But the problem that I have with it at the core is that we're leaving sales up to a luck game when it comes to prospecting. I'm going to blast this email and hope that it finds its way in the lap of someone with a problem that's big enough. So yeah, from the core, it just shows that he knows nothing about you at all.
But yet they knew I had a blog, right?
So I'm confused. A little confused.
All right, that was actually perfect timing. Let me go.
I knew I had a blog.
Well, that was the end of all of our segments. You know, I would like to end this podcast with a quick last-minute rant from both of y'all. Keenan, let's start with you. What rant do you have for us today?
Oh, my goodness. I had one prepared, and I completely forgot what it was. So here's the rant. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. We need to change fucking sales. I had a guy reach out to me, and he said, hey, Keenan, I follow you. I don't know that much about you, but I challenge you to a sale that I can close a sale faster than you can the long time you like to close sales. And I wrote back and said, you don't get it. It doesn't make you a better salesperson if you can close faster. Our job is to help somebody, regardless of how long that takes, and provide the best solution. We need to stop trying to sell and look at it as a competitive game that's selfishly oriented. Enough.
Becc, what's your rant for today?
My rant for today is, I saw a post yesterday, and the person was asking, what is the biggest thing holding sales development reps back from being successful? And there was probably 150 comments, and it said anything from, you know, fear of the phones to they lack confidence to, you know, on and on they went. Not one person, it was jarring, commented that the number one thing that they need to know to be successful is to know their buyer more.
Yeah. Yep.
No one talked about the buyer in
Yep.
150 comments. And that doesn't make me mad. That makes me mad at the problem that we have in sales, but it makes me extremely hungry to at least be a part of the momentum of fixing it. And fixing it means restoring our perspective back to our buyers. They want to solve their problems that are going to hit them hard. We need to be on the exact same page with them. So hopefully this podcast is just, you know, podcast one at the start of that. Hopefully it adds to the mix of it. But I agree with Keenan, like, sales, Archimedes once said, if I want to move something, I can move anything as long as I have a lever long enough and a fulcrum of which to place it. I can move the world. So it's like, let's try. Let's change it back into something meaningful.
There we go.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us in this first episode of Top to Bottom. I'm your host, Keenan. And
I'm Becc.
And my name is
for joining, everyone.
Until next time.